One of the challenges, I think, of being an older congregation is that you get comfortable, right? And that can be very good, and that can actually be a negative thing, because if you're an older established congregation that is doing, that is generally stable, you don't have sometimes the hunger to reach the community with the gospel that sometimes younger churches can have. I grew up in church plants, and in church plants there's generally a hunger to reach people with the gospel that sometimes older established congregations can kind of get a little complacent. My name's David Landow. I'm the pastor of Emmanuel Orthodox Presbyterian Church in Wilmington, Delaware. I graduated from Westminster in 2013 and was called to be a minister here at Emmanuel in 2014. I've actually been a part of this church for a long time. I moved out to Delaware in 2008 for work, and then in 2009, when I was beginning my studies at Westminster, they asked me whether I'd be willing to do youth work here during my time at Westminster. So I did that throughout all my time at Westminster, and then after I graduated in 2013, I had a year-long internship here before I was then called to be the associate. And I served as the associate until 2019, when I stepped into the solo pastor role, and I've been doing that since 2019. And I'm married. To my wife Catherine, and we have 4 very rambunctious boys. And we've been God's greatly blessed our family over the years that we've been here in Delaware. I remember when I was first called to be the associate here, I moved into one of the neighborhoods within walking distance of the church. And as we were trying to get to know our neighbors, we found it incredibly difficult, because in suburbia, frequently, you don't really talk to your neighbors. I mean, the neighbor directly next to us, we lived there in that house for 2 years, and I think I saw them once, because they pulled in and went into their house, and then they got out and drove away, and then they had a lawn service come and do their lawn. And so I literally did not know what my neighbors looked like. And this is like, how am I supposed to reach out to my neighbors if I don't even know what they look like? And so my wife and I decided that we were going to try an experiment. And we went out and bought one of those portable fire pits, and bought some marshmallows and roasting sticks, and put flyers on the doors on our street, and said, hey, why don't you, we're new to the neighborhood, we want to get to know you, we're going to be roasting marshmallows in our front yard at 5 p.m. or whenever it was. And we had 30 people show up in our front yard on that day. And as I was talking to people, what do you do? Well, I work at DuPont, or I work somewhere. And they say, what do you do? Well, I'm a pastor. You have that natural kind of entryway into talking about things. And they're like, where are you a pastor at? I said, well, I'm a pastor at Emmanuel Presbyterian Church. And they're like, where's that? I said, right over there on Wilson Road. Which one is that? It's the church where you vote. So we're even a polling place for the community. They've all been in our building, but they had really no recognition of who this church was, and that we even cared about the community around us. And that was very convicting to me, and to, I think, many in our leadership at the time, that we just had not done a good job at showing that we actually cared about the community where God had placed us. And that has been kind of one of our burdens over the past few years, to really kind of refocus and viewing ourselves as a church that cares about our community. So we started a series of block parties, where over the several years we did block parties and invited the whole neighborhoods around to come to our church and just have time of fellowship, show that we actually cared about our church. And God has actually given great fruit from that. Everybody knows where Emmanuel Presbyterian Church is and what we are, and that we care about people because of that kind of simple gesture of giving a hot dog in Jesus' name, and also a cup of cold water. And that has kind of helped, I think, started to change our kind of trajectory as a congregation to being a little bit more outward focused, and viewing ourselves as actually having a mission, not just to people who are looking for a Reformed church, but to the people who don't even know what church is. And that's kind of been our big burden, is to be more of an outreach-focused church, not just a church which is gathering people who already have come to know and love the Reformed faith.